to see you. Happy Sunday. So before we begin, let's just close our eyes for a moment. We'll keep our palms face up on our thighs. Make sure your spine is nice and upright. And we'll just consciously breathe deep and slow. And we'll just slowly bring our hands just on our hearts. And just warm your heart, soften your heart into your hands. And just in whatever way it is for you, very deeply connect with and ask for your divine's presence to very powerfully fill your heart, fill your whole body, and just surround you in the entire room you're in. And we're going to ask that presence to surround us as a class together and very powerfully be here the entire time of this class. So you can just lower your hands, stay connected. You can remain consciously breathing. That's very powerful. And just slowly open your eyes. So, as always, namaste is to you, and it's an honor, and we really are honored to walk this journey with you for this 6 weeks. And we hope it's been helpful up to this point. So, I'd like to do just a small recap and then we'll just open it for questions and answers, and then we'll move forward with our week's focus and process. So I think the aim of this course it has several aims. The main overarching aim for this course is a principle. The principle is something like this: it's that it's not that you awaken to discover the reality of some God. It's that God awakens to discover the reality of itself. And so the whole journey of spirituality is a journey of sort of waking up to even the acknowledgement that you're alive. That's a huge wake up call, to actually have enough philosophy to look at your hands and go, whoa, what is this place? How did I end up here? Like, whoa. I could say that's like maybe an awakening on an intellectual level, which is really profound, right? And you say, well, my name is Doug, and I'm on planet Earth and this solar system and this galaxy. Okay, where's more answers, Who's God? Why are we all here? These are all good questions. And then the journey can go a little bit further. It doesn't have to go in that direction exactly, but it can go further, where it's an unfoldment from being that which had that initial spark of even acknowledging the fact that it is a part of life or in life, to a journey of growth and expansion, and those walls of feeling separate naturally falling down, and life and what's behind the curtain per se just simply naturally reveals itself. You see things, you see that the other is not separate, So we'll head in that direction, but this is sort of what that initial thing is. So we starting in a very basic, beautiful place. I don't want to say basic because it's extremely profound where we're starting at, which is learning to just simply have sort of an unknowable relationship, simply getting to a place where you're learning to connect with something that doesn't necessarily come with a very direct experience per se of, like you say, well, I believe in Christ, and immediately Christ appears physically. And every time you think of him, he appears physically and starts relating to you, answering every single question and every single prayer. To me, that would be extremely ideal, But we're learning to get in touch with something that is, somebody's writing messages here. Okay. We're learning to get in touch with something that can be very confusing for us, because the nature of our mind is it needs to have its tangibleness. It needs to be able to measure. It needs to be able to see. Therefore, it says it's real. We're getting in touch with something that is sort of is the foundation or the fabric of reality itself. We're learning to somehow get in the flow of that, or to somehow actually grow and become one with it, actually. So it's this leap of saying, I don't necessarily know who you are. I don't necessarily know what you are. I'll call you this, or maybe you've revealed yourself as this. This image is easy for me to relate to. It may not have an image at all, but I'm learning to just get in touch and ask for the unknowable, the incomprehensible, to somehow be a part of my life. And there's just, and historically, epically speaking, when saints and sages and simple people, commoners, everybody, when this moment of saying, I don't know who you are, but I'm asking for help, when this turnover happens, it's a life that starts actually getting brighter. It's a life where we're in a place ourselves to start even having the awareness to look out for a divine hand, to look out for, wow, look how that all came together. Wow, things are unfolding. That's very, very profound. So it's not the problem with the mind or the sense of who we think we are per se, is that it says, well, how do I capitalize? Like, how do I control that? How do I put that to where I can use it any moment I want? And the problem is, we're an ant dealing with the whole universe. It's capacity and its knowingness and its its intelligence is just so utterly extreme compared to where we are. So the ability to grab it and put it into a little box and say, I got this, it's just impossible. So this is what all saints and sages struggled with. They realized this is about a relationship with something so extraordinary, which is it's your most intimate relationship. Nothing you have to prove yourself to, but it's an extraordinary relationship. And it's not about it you controlling it, but it is about you saying, wow, I definitely want this a part of my life. I'm willing, I'm ready to discover this further. And it's a rabbit hole, just keeps going. But consciously inviting grace, consciously heading towards with an intention of having a relationship with the unknowable leads to some very beautiful results. It unfolds in a great way. It's far better than feeling as though you alone exist. There's nothing higher, greater. There's no such thing as God. And if you don't figure it out, or if you don't control it, then you have to suffer all the consequences of life. That's quite a fear-based state, you know. That's what happens. Most people, their minds become so strong because they're convinced there's nothing else helping them. They're isolated in creation. And don't have to be the smart, the clever, wise, the one figuring it all out, constantly a red alert. Of course, you look at the sage and there's relaxed in the eyes. The heart's open, they have a smile. They simply see a different point of life. The heart knows that it may not know it, but it is relaxing in its arms and allowing life, the higher aspect of life, to care. So this week was just a week of, in whatever way you are, just creating a relationship or rekindling a relationship, saying hello. That's kind of the deal. And it wasn't meant to have any conclusion. It's not that we'll be saying you've passed or failed. It is only you to get intimate with yourself and say, this is where I am with it. And it's a beautiful journey even at this stage. So I'm just going to turn this over. And if anyone has any questions around this whole week or any clarifications you want, let's just open it up for several minutes and then we'll move forward. So just hit the little hand raise thing because it shows thing. Hello, Patrick. Good to see you.
Hi, Doug. Good to see you too. Good to see everybody. I wanted to ask you a specific question, how to distinguish between your divine guidance and your inner connection and intuition, distinguishing that between, external people telling you different things. Particularly for me, what's come up this week as it relates to social pressures to get this COVID-19 vaccine. I was pretty sure I was going to get it. And, I talked to a friend last night who had all these opinions about it and facts about it that kind of persuaded me the other way. So, my times of greatest suffering are when I'm torn like that between, people telling me different things and my own intuition. So that'd be really helpful to hear you speak about that.
Yeah, that's epic. We were just in Costa Rica, and I think we might have been the only people who've ever gone there and said, hey, I want to live here and figure out how to do that, So we were there and the only thing we're thinking is we want to live here. And so it came down to a very strong intention of like, okay, let's do what we know in this reality. Like let's hold intentions and move into a place of clarity with the whole thing. And so we were clear in creation what we wanted, and then all sorts of signs started happening, this person walked up to us, this person walked up to this happened, that happened, this link happened, this person, the whole thing. And Prema is at that point 4 months pregnant. I think she was 5 months pregnant. Now she's 6 months pregnant. She's in her third trimester. And I just immediately came back. We were like, let's just pack our bags and get over to Costa Rica. We'll have the baby there, And the whole time it was not like we knew what was right or wrong. The whole time it was more along the lines that there was what our hearts yearned for, And then there is what life presents as its unfoldment. And there's us misreading signs and us clearly seeing signs, whatever. And at the end of the day, as we went to actually take one more step further, a dawning clarity came to us that it was most important to stay here. It was so clear that there was no more struggle in our minds. Like there was no, it was just clear. That's it. So I think why I'm saying that story is the invitation that you in no way are possibly alone in the mystery of somehow figuring out what is right or wrong in a moment of confusion or challenge. What it really comes down to, and this is actually what this whole session is later on in this class, is that it's understanding that you are asking for life to help show you things. And it's understanding that you're learning to be in a place where you are slowing down enough to just simply see things unfold, and you're always checking with your feeling. And there will be a moment naturally where life actually does gently push you through the door. So you get your COVID shots if that's what felt right and it lined up and it was the right moment. Or life just simply just says, you know, at the end of the day, it just doesn't feel right. And the joke of that just doesn't feel right, much of it is it's not right, and you tack on this massive story because that's where everyone gets lost. Is that in that moment just doesn't feel right. Maybe the batch that came in wasn't right for you. Maybe the doctor that came in is legally blind and he's using an old needle from 1920s. You don't know. Maybe it just wasn't the right place to go at the right time for your body's rhythm, right? Etc. So the point is that we have to always leave it and actually what's actually going on inside of ourselves and acknowledge with honesty that. But I have yet really to see life give you something and a heads up with a great explanation like, hey, don't do this per se. It's more along the lines that as you get closer to it, it's just the whole system goes, no. I found myself these days that my systems become real sensitive. So the no it's just like walking up into like a house of fire. The no gets a no, 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 all the way up to the door where I'm like, I can't go in there. So not to the COVID shot, to just any decision in life, you know? So I think that's a learning all of us will have. And the session that we're about to have will help also bring clarity to this. It'll break it down a little bit better. So, yeah. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Doug. How are you?
Good.
Good. So yesterday, when I noticed so much of, I'm bringing forth the divine, knowing that there's a higher power working with me to create or manifest. And things were flowing really great. And then I come home and I get an email and it's like the rug gets pulled out from under my feet. And or I notice that some trauma and drama has to happen before I receive what I'm asking for.
Beautiful.
So those are two different things. So
Yeah.
could you please comment to that and
Yeah.
how to be? Because, you know, I mean, Alfredo had expressed something really great. Thank you, Alfredo. And I would like to be able to be able to be in that space to live.
Yeah.
When the rug gets pulled out from under my feet, if you want to
Yep.
call it that, or blankets the fan.
Yeah. So I will, your question is so appropriate for what we're about to teach.
Okay.
So I will answer that in the lesson, actually.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. You. Anybody else have any questions or anything want to clarify? Has this week been helpful? Has it been a refreshing week of just simply, you know, bring your attention to a certain direction? Somebody has their hand raised. Who's that? That's Marcy.
Oh, no.
Cool. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Patrick. Hi, Doug and all. I have a question around a belief in my patterns. So I have a belief now where I've had so many huge almost opportunities and my mind is stuck on, and then I do something to sabotage it. And in the last minute, I get in the way. I know it's a belief pattern. I know it's in the mind, but I'm wondering if you can give us some techniques and tools or thought patterns to shift that. Thanks.
Yeah. The first of all, we'll actually address some of that in this next session. So I like how we're all kind of lined up for this session. That's awesome. Um, but let us. I don't like to use the word awakening, but this is actually a good context of the word awakening. Let us look at what awakening could look like. You know, not awakening in some finality. Just the term awakening, meaning that before you couldn't see something, then you could see something. And then that seeing something at least gives you the freedom to make another choice. It's like you're absolutely certain you're going to buy this house in this one neighborhood. And every time Google Maps takes you down the main highway and then off it goes to this new neighborhood. And it's amazing. That's the house. That's awesome. And then one day you're plugging in the coordinates to go check out the house, and it actually accidentally just detours you around another road. And you saw two other brand new neighborhoods that are actually far superior or better or equal. The point is, you now saw something you did not know exists, and now suddenly you have a choice. And so what times happen with our patterns or things that can be destructive is the first thing is we're not even aware of seeing that that's actually taking place. So you're just so caught up in it. And there's a lot of fear or emotion, or there's such a drama around it. There's no time to even like have like a moment to actually look back and be like, what is going on in a bird's eye view here? You know, it's very dramatic, and you're even kind of happy to get out of it because maybe all the emotions are kicking up per se, you know. Then at a certain point you realize, my God, this happens every time. And as we start seeing how it happens every time, we start seeing how there is an emotional component that's wrapped around what is happening every time. And so like we're just talking about layers there, right? Didn't see it at all, saw it, but caught in a storm of just like, whoa, this is intense. Then you're seeing it and relating it to other times. Doesn't have to always go like this. I'm just shedding off layers of it, right? You're seeing it, but now you're like having a little bit of philosophy, like, damn, this is here all the time. This is really wrecking my life. And then you're suddenly saying, what is it? And that's when we realize the emotional component to the unfoldment of life trying to happen in whatever direction. And it's that emotional component that once that's healed, the pattern's shattered. The karma or the repeating aspect of your life, that part shatters. So what life actually is doing is it's actually putting you through the perfect actual process to heal, because a hurt or pain is actually energy stuck and stored inside. And life always is trying to meet bound energies with same force externally or whatever with nature, and then just release it to free it. So that's why there's no mystery to the woes or the stresses of our life, because they're equivalently equal to the emotions yet to heal inside. It's kind of awesome. It's like life is the actual guru. Life is actually trying to liberate you, but the rigidity and the ignorance of the mind runs from actually the process of facing what's going on internally. It actually shuts it down and says, I got to somehow figure out how this should never happen again. Or it feels like a victim. Why is this always happening to me? As opposed to the acknowledgement, my goodness, look what's coming up inside of me right now. And that my goodness is awesome, because it shouldn't be, it can be, I'm just stating, shouldn't necessarily be, oh, woe is me, look at all that's coming up, how cruel is life, as opposed to, oh my God, the messenger came of life, and this is an amazing opportunity for me to actually take a moment and cry my soul out, scream into a pillow, or face a fear of a lifetime. And when we actually acknowledge the moment we're in to actually process that, and it may not be easy. There's sometimes nothing easy about emotional healing. It can be so brutal for 2 days or 3 days to plow through something, to hold space for it, to have the energy to do that. But once it does naturally lose its grip or its intensity and starts fading off, your entire external reality changes. I mean, life does not need to bring that any further. So hopefully that's helpful to you. It all actually, the mechanics of incarnation is actually very straightforward. We're just bound sets of emotional charges and energies that life is pushing you through circumstances to release. And the final goal is you awakening out of the illusion of being the body, you know, because it's not who you are. So hope that's helpful. Oh, I see more. Sorry. Hi, Jen. Good to see you.
Hey, good morning. You asked how the week was going, and I am just so authentically frustrated. I have never been in this space. I always had a great relationship with my creator. It came easy. I've always done the chit chat. I really appreciate that you've brought that, because it's always been my mode. And I feel like right now, for me, if you ever watch the fighter pilots do their touch and goes, it's like that. We're touch and we go, we touch and we go. And I had some interesting moments this week, but I feel like I'm a fish out of water, and I'm fighting myself, and I'm struggling, and this whole surrender thing, and I'm just, ugh. So that's
Yeah.
how it's going for me.
Yeah, totally. We'll talk on that actually in the sessions. So
I'm just,
that's wonderful.
I'm just welcoming the tipping point, you know?
Say that last line again.
I said, I'm just welcoming the tipping point.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. We'll talk on that for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Hi, Samir.
Hi, Doug. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
It's been 2 years. Did that course with you in New York. I really loved it. And the question I have is, you know, how much of your work of this teaching that we're going to learn and process come directly from Amma Bhagwan? And would you be referring to him or quote him or point us in directions that would bring out another shift, that we're not being able to do it by just listening to him ourselves or watching him satsang and the 7 a.m. program? Because I learned some very powerful things from you that weekend in New York about your experience with him. So anything you could share about your experience with him, or how some of that we would experience or learn in this program, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. First of all, you have to understand, I absolutely love Sri Bhagwan. The whole thing of me being a monk there was in 2013. Sri Bhagwan sat me down and he said, everyone just has a role and destiny in life. And actually your role and destiny is actually to be a teacher in your own right entirely. It's just kind of your trajectory. And so I'm going to just help you get onto your 2 feet, and you and Prema are going to go do your own work in a good way. He said, you're not ready. I'll let you know when you are. And we went under lots of processes. It was really cool time period. And I think it was in 2017 or something like that. Sri Bhagwan just sat us down and he said, you guys are in a place now in the endless journey that you can actually help other people. And you need to go teach, and you need to do it from your own personal experiences. That's where the power of truth transfers. It's when a person just shares what their truth is. And he said, I'll be with you fully. Please go home and start teaching in your own way. So we came back and did Sacred Wisdom School. And so I just thought, out of the respect of me helping another person, the greatest gift I can give to somebody is to show exactly where I'm at, to show exactly what I'm going through, and to show at least what I'm finding works for me or doesn't work for me. An invitation to only mirror that in somebody else. They just simply say, I understand that, that's the wisdom. Let me see if it works for me or doesn't work for me as well. So the principle behind Sacred Wisdom School is that we want to simply share only our direct experiences. We don't necessarily want to teach anything that's not a living truth inside of us. I don't feel Matthew, Prema, myself deem ourselves in any level as enlightened or awakened, as masters, nothing. We just felt if normal people who live in society with girlfriends, wives, and kids, working jobs, are able to finally heal and feel peaceful inside and figure out what to do with that and share that from their space of where they're at, it can be really, really helpful that a person can say, this person is just like me, and this is some things that are helpful for them. I'm going to see if it's helpful for me. So that's the context of all our classes and courses and processes, is it's us sharing what works for us. For all of us, we've been on spiritual paths very literally since we were teenagers, and part of multiple paths, you know. So there'll be times I definitely will in this course share some miracles that happened with me and my teacher, Sri Bhagwan. But out of respect to him and his work, I think it's really important to keep the auspiciousness of that to that work as it's forever changing. So if anyone feels called to that, that work's a beautiful work. And Sri Bhagwan's, I think, one of the most phenomenal teachers. So I want to keep that there. And these courses, you're just going to hear from people, normal people in society. You're going to hear kind of this journey, what's happened, how the state of oneness found me, how the walls fell down, you know, and hopefully it just inspires in that way, and some very strong principles. I'll leave it like that, and hopefully that gives some clarity to you. So any last question?
Hello.
Hello, Norma. How you doing?
Good. Well, to be authentically honest, I share much with Jean. I was really struggling this week with having that conversation with my personal divine, and I don't know why. I just seem to get distracted. I'm going to go to the garden shop, or I'm taking my daughter here, there, or whatever. But there were moments where I could just have the chit chat and kind of like fake it till I make it. And I don't even know why I was there. So I'm just hoping that something will ease off, or there'll be something today that will just all of a sudden be that aha moment. So that I'm not having that internal struggle. And the ego goes like, you should be like, what's going on? You're distracting yourself. Why are you just wanting to dig into this? Like, what's going on? So I just kind of wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I think what I'll do is I'll head into the session, because it seems you all seem right on point with the core of what this session is. I think that could be really helpful. First of all, one thing to note is that the external world and the mind are like best friends. You know, the external world meets so many of the needs of the mind, in a sense, you know, like the mind says, I want to build an amazing sandcastle. It can just jump down, start picking up sand with your body and building this amazing sandcastle. You pretty much have control. You pretty much do whatever you want, give or take, right? I mean, you could even go super science fiction on it if you wanted to, because the mind has the capacity to grab matter of reality and put it together, and etc. You know, so the mind has that, and the mind knows that collectively. Look, I mean, the species is developing extraordinary things. I mean, just the iPhone alone is completely mind-blowing that our species created something that's like the best aspects of all technology per se together, connects you to the entire world instantaneously, you know. So then comes the internal world, which life has its opposites in one way of looking at it, which is where the mind just like, it can't grab onto any sand. It's so frustrating. It's like, where's the sand to grab onto? Like, I want to do what I do out here, inside here. And the problem with that is that the mind trying to do what it knows to do, and it's rewarded for it, and it feels really great about it, it's trying to now do this internally. And the entire journey of spirituality is learning to allow the mind to not be able to grasp on the internal world. It's learning to actually say, like you're learning to actually let go of what's going on inside. You could say externally, you may be naturally inclined to change things to meet the needs of your body. But internally, it's actually a journey of complete and total acceptance. So it's a journey of completely acknowledging. Give me a second. This is unmuting for people. So this is completely a journey of you're learning to completely acknowledge what's going on and fully accept it. Now, when we talk about when I'm frustrated or when I'm upset for any, like I'm trying to talk to my divine, it's not working. I really want to take this huge leap with it. And there's a frustration there. I'm actually worse off than I was before. What we're actually speaking about is how you emotionally feel. And the hardest stage of spirituality, like the big problem with spirituality, is not the philosophy of spirituality, because it's so beautiful. It's like an ocean of possibility. What it is it is actually learning to understand what to do with uncomfortable emotions. Because we look at it, and a lot of how we view life or the decisions we make stem from us managing or trying to somehow do something with uncomfortable emotions. So we're actually struggling inside constantly, trying to somehow say, I don't like how I feel. And so therefore something's wrong. And it's completely understandable because the mind is so used to saying, I'm hot, I'm going to stand up and turn on the AC. I don't like this, I'm going to go ahead and rearrange that. But in the internal world, it starts saying, I don't like how I feel, I need to change how I feel. I don't like that I'm frustrated, I need to change how I'm frustrated. That grip of the mind, grabbing for the sand inside, it doesn't exist. That actually is all the help. That actually is the seed of actually divisiveness, strangely enough. When you try to meddle with the internal world, when the mind tries to grasp at it, that's actually where you start feeling separate from yourself. The mind has analyzed what's going on inside and has stepped over on one side saying it stands on what's going on and it stands on what it wants to happen. This initial division creates the initial struggle. This is what makes you actually feel separate inside yourself, broken inside yourself. So this isn't the lesson. This is just in response to what we're all speaking, the lesson will come after this. So the journey of the internal world when it comes to this emotional level of being upset, of being frustrated, etc., is actually something completely radical. It's something completely opposite of what the mind knows. What it is complete allowance. It's completely allowing yourself to finally be upset and to know this is okay. It's absolutely okay that this is coming up right now. I'm a sting of anxiety that's happening. Okay, it is happening. Let's have this experience, not because you want to, because it is what is unfolding. And so the journey of feeling at whole with yourself, the journey of, you could say, self-empowerment and oneness with oneself is actually not an absence of pain or suffering or fear or ego. It's not an absence of that. It's an acceptance as it arises. It's a to be expected experience. So a sting of fear comes up, and all of a sudden, as it comes up, you're saying, okay, fear comes up. It's not that when fear comes up, you say, but I already took a workshop and I'm through that. Or it's not a sting of fear comes up and you say, why is that back? I just went to have acupuncture last week. It's more along the lines of, it's coming up and my responsibility is to allow myself to consciously embrace and experience it, to hold space and feel it as it's being felt, to become one with that feeling. But the problem is, because of just how society is at this time period, I'm sure this will all evolve in a couple hundred years, is that we've been labeling fear and hurt and jealousy and guilt and shame as undesirable experiences. And that if it's there, that means you're kind of depressed or something's wrong, or, we don't deal with that. We stay on the happy side. But the sage, the great saint, what they probably wrestled with that for years. And then they finally realized it's only when I absolutely allow, does it finally stop turning in from a contorting hell experience inside of like, why is that there? And it's because of this, it's because of that, to, and you're allowing yourself to feel it. And then that settling into feeling. That's what actually was the breakthrough for Lord Buddha and his awakening, actually, was this actual moment, was that he was trying to end the suffering inside. And he just thought, what if I just breathe into it? What if I stop the concept of ending something and I completely surrendered into the feeling? And as he did that, it's a huge breakthrough. I mean, it's like the walls of it all, your whole path shifts at that point. So for me, that's why I have no problem saying I don't consider myself awakened or enlightened. I don't consider myself different than how I was when I was younger. I do know the big difference for me, though, is I absolutely know I must allow what's happening to happen. I must absolutely focus in my heart and not resist a single thing. Because I know if I grasp for the sand in the internal world, it is nothing but actually molten lava. It stings and burns, and there's nothing comes out of it. And I make bad decisions in my life, the whole thing. So it's so natural when the mind doesn't get what it wants, when the mind doesn't grasp what it's trying to grasp, when the mind doesn't feel it's grown. It's so natural for the mind to be upset, to kick and scream. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old, and it's so fun to watch the mind because it's so unfiltered, You're like, that's exactly what I go through, but he externalizes it, So this is something to understand, is the hardest part of the spiritual journey is learning what to do with emotions. They call it like emotional intelligence, like, what do you do with that? And what you find is, when we allow ourselves, that's why I always teach the conscious breath. When you allow yourself to just breathe deep and slow, it's very, very important to do that. The moment you start doing that, the energies rise up, the Kundalini comes up. And as you go deep and slow like that, Kundalini comes up, you relax fully into the heart. As you relax fully into the heart, you feel. You stay with the actual feeling. The real subtleties that will trip you up is, you're not doing this to make it go away. I know that's really disappointing. You're not doing this to fuel any story. You're doing this to relax, to just relax and allow yourself to be at one with the feeling of the sensation, breath by breath. When a person does that in a deep conscious breath, I'm telling you, the mind goes very silent. You feel whole and complete. There could be fear there. There could be pain there. It could be something on that level trying to somehow work itself out. But when the heart softens into it, whatever is there is finally getting processed. It's finally getting felt. And it's really, really important on the spiritual journey to figure this out for yourself. Because this is where so many people get stuck in the spiritual journey in the mind. And every time life tries to bring you down to what's going on the emotional level, it's like putting your toe in cold water. You're like, I'm not getting in there. And you go back into the mind to have another story, to change something in your life, to make a big rash decision, to somehow appease or control or change down here. But the saint or the sage, the great teacher, whoever that we all admire, the great beings, they awoken in the heart. And it was a very different journey than this one. Awakening the heart was about settling into exactly what is there without judgment or care that that it's there, understanding that this is what's unfolding. This is what's unfolding, and softening completely into it and consciously allowing yourself to stay there and fully feel. When a person settles into the heart like that, all healing starts taking place, huge transformation takes place, and a state of oneness ensues. So we have a course called Awakening the Sacred Heart, where the whole thing is that. So if that calls to you, I would highly suggest it, because we go through this whole entire thing. But this can be just helpful, because all of us go through this. This is humanity's issue. But learning what to do with it, and to learning the what to do is a state of embracing and consciously feeling with the conscious breath, is a world of self-mastery. If anybody steps into that and kind of figures that out for them, what's that like for them? It's extraordinary. So. Okay, so we're going to go into the specific focus for this week in this journey. And this is cool, because a lot of you have stated this kind of thing. Like the story that I had with Costa Rica, where we went there. It's pretty much where we want to live. We'll probably live there, in the next couple of years. Then it comes down to, well, okay, we want this to happen, and so our whole hearts, we're in tune with that. Our whole hearts want this to happen, and as we're wanting it to happen, that feeling is there. Prayer naturally happens. That's why I think prayer, when your heart really wants something, prayer is a very natural happening. It can be a silent prayer. It's just your whole heart yearns and says, this is, I want this, or you very clearly invoke the presence of whatever God is for you, and you say, I want this. And then life starts unfolding. It's like a choice was made, and life unfolds. And the hardest part to all this is, you could say, your emotional ride with somehow getting now what you want. And this emotional ride can cause a lot of confusion, because if you're very unconscious about something that you want, the mind will kick up a lot of fear, a lot of panic, a lot of craving, a lot of hurt or anger or doubt. It can kick up a lot of old wounds, which is, see, this never works for me. See, it's because no one's listening. There's no God. Who knows? Like, whatever the story is, those are just some superficial ones. But this is when you come across something and you want it, and it seems at a distance. I'm not talking about ordering something on Amazon. If you're going through this huge process on Amazon, we need to talk about that. But when something seems at a distance, seems sort of unattainable, or it's just, there's a lot more involved, there will be naturally, now the mind and its set of emotions are involved. And the problem with that storm that's created around the mind is we start now reading in too much to things. We start creating a bunch of stories, a bunch of doubts, a bunch of things, etc. So there's, in so many ways, you could say, no real surrender that's taking place when the mind latches on to what it wants, even spiritual goals, right? It just, I want this. So one part of the divine or life, the supreme, the one, the all, is that it's kind of like a playground. I mean, it's just kind of a place where life constantly unfolds. And that when your heart is in will with something, life isn't separate from itself at all. It naturally starts saying, so be it, so be it. It's not, I have yet to find some bureaucratic process that takes in your prayer request and sees, like, if you have the merit for it, passes it to somebody else and sees that there's a committee to talk about it, finally goes to God with the big stamp, whether it's approved or denied. I just simply see that life itself is one being. And the moment the heart tunes in, it's all about the heart has power to it. A thought is a very dead thing, actually. Now, a thought backed by an emotion is extremely powerful. So that's why I call it the heart. When the heart has that intention, all of a sudden the whole gears of creation start aligning and start bringing, sort of like you just now entered a new address in your GPS. It now reroutes and you're just now heading that. But the problem we all face with life's unfoldment, yeah, I could say, are twofold. And that's what we'll discuss this week, for this week. This twofold thing is, first of all, the idea that, at least right now, maybe because we're all just not in these absolutely super states, epic super states, that things do take time to manifest. That when the heart wants something, you're naturally starting the gears of creation to start bringing that towards you. Naturally, unfoldments start taking place when the heart is centered in this direction. This is what I want. I don't know how I get it. I don't know anything more. Wow, this is what I want. Naturally, life is now pulling towards you that whole reality. Now, the problem we face with that, as we just discussed, is now the mind does not know how that unfolds. It does not understand, it cannot understand all the intelligence behind the scenes bringing this manifestation to you. So it will naturally, based on your programming, your conditionings, your hurts, your pains, the whole 9 yards of what you call the sense of self, the storm of the mind, the narrator inside. It will now, in its confusion and its ignorance to this simple thing, it will now toss and turn and be disappointed until it finally has what it wants immediately. And the problem of this is that life was trying to bring it to you the whole time, but all that was going on inside, all that emotions and hurts and doubts, and it's not going to work, and I don't deserve this, and it's not the right time, and labeling every little thing as a sign or not a sign. All of that emotional upheaval actually ends up being the roadblock. That emotional upheaval even puts a different intention of energy in your heart. Like, what if you have a pattern that it never works out for me? I get so close to something, it just falls through every time. So now all of a sudden, your whole heart says yes. And then that creeps in. As that creeps in, where is your energy? Your energy now is fighting that, in fear of that, struggling with that. And or you have the conditioning, it will not happen, or it's too much to ask from life, or I don't deserve it. All of a sudden, the very simple act of saying, I want that. This is where I'm going. Like, this is what I want. All of a sudden turns into, I know it's not going to happen. These things never happen. All of a sudden, the signal, the heart signal that you're sending out to life, its frequency changed. It's literally either not sending out any energy at all because you gave up, or it's sending out a whole different tune, which will produce that effect. The creation's one. It's very simple. It's not, there's no other sitting there saying, oh, no, I'll help you and work some work around, So this idea that all the saints and sages spoke about, and for me, it's something that has been a really beautiful ongoing process, is this idea of surrender. And what this means is something quite different, at least how we're going to explain it, It take on many different meanings. One aspect, and why we're speaking so much about emotional intelligence, is we have to understand our responsibility in our emotional level to what we want in life. We have to understand that the simple act of being incarnated, the simple act of being a part of a collective species, coming from a family lineage, in a time period it's very divisive, means we all probably have work to do inside. I would imagine if you're vanishing in the pure light and you're sitting there in utmost joy, that the only reason we'd probably even sign up for this class was just to hold space for us, right? Myself included, So with this being said, there is an emotional component that keeps finding us in any direction we go in life. We quit one job, thank God, hated those people, fall off a cliff, I got a new job. You get into a new job, within 6 months, you're finding the same exact challenges you found in the last job. Those challenges probably didn't even exist in that office until you showed up and then started manifesting because of the things you have to go through, you know? So I'm guilty of that. So when it comes to kind of tuning in or being in the flow of higher intelligence, understanding that there is something manifested as all things, and look how intelligent everything is. It's insane. It's alive. I mean, wow, I'm here. I mean, is that not proof enough of some kind of higher consciousness? I mean, goodness, right? Creation itself. Getting in tune with it and utilizing it to live the life that you want does require your own responsibility. And what that is that when naturally the mind struggles with anything, what we're talking about when we say the mind is struggling is an emotional component of upheaval. Because I'm telling you, if your mind was just saying all sorts of weird things, but you felt happy, you're all good. You could care less. I mean, it's like chatter, right? But when the mind struggles with something and it's making you feel ill inside, it's gripping you in fear and hurt, and you're terrified. You're terrified of what's going to happen next in your life. This space is what's required for healing. This fellow is actually just simply what's your boulder in the middle of the road. Because God doesn't judge. God doesn't judge. Life is nothing. The only thing life wants to have is another experience. Like, hey, want to do that? I'm game. That's pretty much life, right? It's like every possible experience. So what this comes down to is when you find yourself, when your heart yearns towards something, when it says, oh, this is what I want, or I lost my job and I need income. I don't know what's going to happen next for me. Like I got like maybe 3 months worth, but I'm in trouble after that. That's going to bring the devil out of you. And what's so important is to say, I must take responsibility for my emotional healing. I must understand I do have a role to play in the journey of manifestation of my life. And that role is that when there's emotional upheaval, these are the things that are pulling me down, stopping me from the natural flow of life's natural abundance. I mean, creation is abundant. I mean, it's just sheer energy vibrating as form. I'm not saying humanity is not really hurting the resources on the planet, but the very act of this moment of being alive, it's a very energetic experience, actually. So again, what this looks like is like this. Anytime you're relating to your divine, anytime that you know what you want in your life, that's what, if you chose to be a part of society, you're choosing to live actively. You're choosing to have the experiences your heart yearns for. What this looks like is having the role and relationship with life to say, yes, I want to have that experience. I want to have this experience. But when anything comes up of doubt, of hurt or fear, we must first of all say, to be expected. Nothing wrong with this. To be expected, because we're here to help the self heal and flower through its experiences and naturally let go. So we're here to say, to be expected, you're going to be triggered. To be expected, you're going to be hurt. To be expected, you're frustrated and angry at some God that is a massive mystery. But I will acknowledge this is happening. I'll be honest with myself. And it's not a problem. It's just that I need to hold space and allow my heart to feel and to relax into that experience. I'm going to allow myself to breathe. I'm going to allow myself to drop any tension or any resistance in the body and feel. So this, strangely enough, these stings of panic and fear, these swells of anger and frustration, these depressions of sadness and loneliness and guilt and remorse and shame, all are to be healed when a heart just simply, breath by breath, stays with the feeling and embraces it. Everything can actually be healed on the emotional level when one says, it's okay. This is okay. And gives himself the space and time to do that. As we stay with whatever comes up around our life path, our prayer in that moment, our direction we want to go, what we haven't yet acquired, whatever it could be, and we stay with it, it will naturally undergo its healing process and burn off. Now, a very strange thing happens. When the storm surrounding the heart's want for something heals, you find yourself in this amazing space that you don't really care if you have it or not. You're actually in a space of saying, I'm actually good. Like, and then you may actually see inside of it, I feel fine whether I have it or not, but I do want it. You know, like this is where I want to live. I mean, I would like to walk out and swim in the ocean every day. That sounds fantastic to me. So all of a sudden, all that panic of the mind to try to grasp and interpret everything as sign or not sign, all that struggle with God, where are you? Are you listening? Talk back to me. I need to know if this is going to happen. All of that was fueled by an emotional upheaval, which was perfectly timed in your life to be healed. It was perfectly timed for you to now to allow your heart to feel that. As all of that happens, go into this place where we're completely acceptance of whether it happens or not. This is what we're calling surrender. The space where you're saying, yes, I'm going to go live in Costa Rica. Y'all want to join me? We should all go move to Costa Rica. Great idea, I think, personally. You have good internet there. That's all that matters for me. But whether it happens or not, that's what has to heal, because the grasp that it must is actually the fellow stopping it. Because that grasp is actually saying, I'm terrified of death. I'm terrified of the unknown. I'm terrified of being embarrassed of my role in society, living on the street or something, you know? It's so terrified that it has to know it has it. It's lonely. It just needs to know it can grasp onto something to feel it. There's a really cool story. We'll finish this up and we'll do another process, but I want to share this story. It's a cool story. And so the student was walking with the master once in the forest, and the master is very stoic. So he just, like, you know, classic master, right? Like, never says anything. So in the story. And the student just kind of ponders and says, what is Maya? Like, what is Maya and the suffering of Maya? Like, why do everyone talk about Maya and the suffering of it? And the master immediately looks at the boy and takes off running. And he runs and runs. And he sees like a log, a big fallen tree, and he leaps onto it. And the student is quite shocked, because he's just, all the years he's known his master, since he was an infant, actually, he's just never seen his master do that. So his master just erratically runs and then jumps onto a log and bear hugs it, you know? And as he bear hugs it, he starts screaming at the top of his lungs, help, 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 I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, help, 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 somebody help me, I'm stuck, I'm stuck. Like, just go get help, I'm stuck. And the boy is like bewildered, you know, like, this is his old, like, 85-year-old master who just did this. And he walks up to the master and says, you're stuck? And he starts screaming, I'm stuck, help me, this is horrible, help me. He said, but you're holding on to the log. And the master immediately stops, releases himself from the log, and stands back up, brushes himself off, and he says, that's Maya, and keeps walking. And that's exactly it. We're grasped at the very core of us, even to the idea of not wanting to die. That's at the core, you know, no, I'm not ready. We're not ready for what? You don't actually even know what that is. So you're not ready for what? You don't know what that is. No, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready to be homeless. I'm not ready to lose my job. I'm not ready to lose this relationship. I'm not ready. And that grasp is a grasp of fear. It's a grasp of, no, like, I just need to hold on to this, and I feel good. If I have more, I feel a little bit better. I have more. Okay, I'm here. Okay, we're okay. But what are you grasping onto? It's an idea, it's an idea. So when we start moving into the mode of seeing that emotional upheaval is to be expected of the mind, and we acknowledge when it happens and we feel that certain way, and we move into a state of insecurity towards anything. And we just know, first of all, to be expected, this is not a problem. There's not something wrong. It is just time for me to step into my responsibility, which is I'm taking responsibility of holding space for this, to allow the little child personality who's kicking and screaming, so I can stay in the feeling and let this heal naturally, because it's time, obviously, life has produced it, that this comes up to be healed. It may be uncomfortable. I have yet to see, only in a really deep state of oneness with fear does it actually feel kind of amazing. So it's learning to stay with whatever is going on is our responsibility. The moment that moves out of the way, we're in a space of complete freedom, whether something should happen or not happen. And then we watch the divine hand unfold. What is the divine hand? We watch life unfold. We watch the happening happen. We just see pieces coming together, or simply show us so clearly, no. You were confused about this. This is just not the resonance for you, and we'll present something else. Or present simply nothing because you feel contented. Oh yeah, if it happens, it happens, I'm good. So this week that we're going to be approaching now, the journey of this week, is a journey of becoming aware of this happening inside of us. And to understand, it's not like we are kicking and screaming. It's that this is the nature of personalities and the mind. The mind will do this. But our responsibility is to actually say, I'm ready to heal. I'm totally ready to actually finally face this emotions. And I'm not going to face it in the mind. I'm going to consciously breathe, soften on every exhalation into the heart, hold space, and allow my heart to embrace and feel. And what we will find is that all the walls and the blocks of life will topple down. Life starts becoming an experience of great abundance. It just feels like anything can happen. And it's very powerful. So for me, this is always good for a story to reflect people's personal experiences. I'm a person of tremendous insecurity and fear, tons and tons and tons of fear, and self-worth issues. Like I don't feel good enough. Don't like the way I look. All sorts of things. Just probably the stamp of what it means to be a human being, right? Just right there. And as I came home several years ago from India and I started my own web design and branding company, I would undercharge like crazy to everybody. And I would even feel guilty asking them for any money at all. It's almost like, here, how about I start paying you and I'll build your website? That's how I felt emotionally, And my Prema, who actually used to own a PR company when she was very younger, in her early 20s, she would say, my God, look how talented you are. You've been doing this for 20 years. You're seasoned. You should be charging 10 times that. And I could not comprehend it. Such fear would come up to even think to ask for anything more than pennies for my work to somebody. And I started getting the worst kind of clients, actually. I get clients who would just, I was like a mop head. It would just be like smear me across the floor, It's like they felt because they're paying so little, they can just treat me like junk, Is this and it's all me mirroring myself, It was just, I got insane clients. And at a certain point, I watched myself in so much fear with every client. And I know I need to make so much more money to even survive in this country. So at a certain point, I was like, I'm going to face this fear. And it wasn't easy. It was brutal. Oh my God. It was brutal. I just started facing the best I could, but I did do it. And layer after layer, when stings of fear from clients being erratic and me being exhausted after the project and getting a penny for something that should have been 10 times the amount, I stayed with that. And because I stayed with that, a practicality came in and the emotions here. The practicality was 25% of this is going to taxes. I need this amount just to even survive per month. And this thing takes me 3 weeks. So I'm going to charge this plus this. Next client came in, I immediately said, this is what I charge. They said, oh, that's awesome. That's far cheaper than the other guy. So the next client, I doubled the price because I was like, I'm obviously cheaper than the other guy. And then the person didn't even blink. They're like, oh, okay, great. Just invoice me. And so off I took it, you know, and but each stage brought up fear. I faced it, but I had a clarity. I want to be successful. I want to be financially successful. I can't afford not to be. For a family of 5 right now, you know. So that's what this all looks like, is that we're here to be an expression of living. We're here to be at one with life itself and to be a life's experience. And when our hearts yearn towards something, that's the compass. That's life just saying, yeah, let's do that. But our responsibility in our journey of awakening is what follows after our heart says yes, which is the storm, the fear, whatever it is, the doubt. And we're just going to say, to be expected, fall into the sensation of it and breathe. Don't worry about any story. Stories can come and go. It doesn't matter. We're here to let that heart soften and feel. Just stay with the uncomfortableness. Fully feel it. Really get to the epicenter. And then it naturally dissolves. And life opens up, because life is here to live, you know. So does it make sense? I don't mean to be beating a dead horse, sometimes just repeating it 20 times. So does this resonate with something is this helpful for you to focus on? Okay, it's helpful for me. So we're going to go through a process now. It'll be somehow similar to last week. We're going to be hitting a certain energy center and taking prayers and intentions and going for it. So we'll just sit upright. Keep your eyes closed, your palms open. Just move into nice, deep, conscious breaths. And on every exhalation, soften your entire body. So we're going to be doing a breath of fire. So if anybody's new here for their first session of this, when you inhale, your belly's going to come out like a big balloon. You'll inhale very sharply through the nose or the mouth. I prefer the nose personally. You'll make this kind of sound. When you exhale, again, sharply exhaling, and the big balloon belly will deflate very fast. You'll make this kind of sound. So we'll start at a very slow speed. Just follow along. Go faster. Go faster. Go as fast as you can. Exhale fully. Hold your breath. Focus on the crown of your head and wholeheartedly connect strongly with your divine. Inhale as deep as you can. Hold your breath, clench your anus, crown of the head, and again, connect wholeheartedly with your divine. Hold your breath. Unclench, exhale fully. We'll do it 2 more times. Inhale as deep as you can. Hold your breath, clench your anus, crown of the head, and connect. Unclench, exhale fully. Last time. Inhale as deep as you can. Hold your breath, clench your anus, crown of the head, and connect. Unclench, exhale fully. Breathe slow and deep. Just feel the state your body's in. Your palms are face up on your thighs, and the tip of the index finger is going to come to the base of the thumb. Bring your whole focus to your throat. You'll be chanting the word hung, but every time we chant it, I want you to visualize divine grace going to your throat and opening it. And the feeling of the prayer is that may I be completely in surrender to life as it is. So that'll be kind of like the feeling in the prayer as divine grace has focused its energies in that area as we chant. So we're gonna do the chant for 21 times. Take a deep breath. Hung. Just relax. Breathe very deep and slow. You're going to chant out loud with me 7 times. You'll follow with me this statement. You're going to say it from the heart, like you feel it. Say it like a command to yourself, that the words are commanding the learning in your whole body. All things unfold in divine timing. That's what we'll be saying. So we'll say it again, start now, 7 times. All things unfold in divine timing. 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 Now, just one more time, bring your palms face up in front of your heart. Put a small smile in your face and sink into your heart. And I just want you to ask for grace for the unknowable, the most intimate friendship you have, to fill you with its divine presence, to be consumed by its light. Let us all do that together. Breathe deep and slow as you do this. And in that invocation, with your whole heart, express gratitude. Let your heart feel gratitude as you continue to relate and connect. I always chant the words, thank you so much, inside my heart. So you can slowly lower your hands. And just slowly open your eyes. So I'm not going to speak long. I'm just going to share what the practice is this week. So each morning, you can continue to consciously breathe for 7 minutes. Keeping a candle flame open is very good. And I'll also post this on the chat, just because I know we're maybe in a little bit of a state. But I want you to have that conversation with your divine in whatever way it is for you. It can be silent, it can be chit-chatting, but a moment of connecting. And I want you to then just spend a moment reflecting on the things that you want in your life or the challenges that you're facing in your life. And I want you to immediately bring your awareness to how you feel emotionally around it, whether there's doubt, frustration, hurt, can't happen to me, never does happen. Whatever that is, that's where you're going to be stopping in that moment. You even place your hands on your heart. You're going to breathe consciously, and you're going to say, it's okay. It's time to heal this. And you're going to breathe breath by breath into that feeling and let your heart feel it, fully feel it. So your morning practice each day is a practice of conscious breathing, connecting, reflecting on what your life and the emotional stance you have towards what you want or the struggles you're facing. And you're going to be sitting there feeling it. You can stay as long as you want to do it. It's not like a alarm clock should go off and you should stop it. Learning to consciously take responsibility for pain and healing it. It's very, very key. So anyway, I love you all. And thank you all so much for taking this journey with me. And I'll see you on Telegram tomorrow morning. Take care.